What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, Friday did have some pretty good momentum, a lot of volatility though. It still did hold a lot of the key support levels. So I'm going to go over that in a second. But forward looking into this week, the biggest thing coming out is going to be Saturday, so tonight at 7:30 p.m. So you have a year over year and month over month inflation rate, and then you have PPI. So year over year forecast right now is 0.2, and then the month over month is 0.6. In my opinion, I think those forecasts are rather high. So this is where there's a huge opportunity that if they come in lower than anticipated, then the market is going to speculate like crazy, because that could result in monetary policy easing, so rate cuts. So that would be huge for Chinese stocks. Even though lately a lot of the American data has been not all that great, this alone could really start to separate what happens with NIO and kind of the algos really trying to drag it down all the time, because it happens time and time again. Every morning you have a lot of activity, and then around lunchtime it's just algos, all this barcoding, no entities. This isn't like big money. This is just algorithmic trading back and forth. So I think in general, this data is going to be potentially huge for not just NIO, but Chinese stocks. And again, Friday, one of the biggest driving factors why NIO is doing rather well, and other Chinese automakers as well, was because of somewhat the momentary demise of Tesla, not just in China, but Europe, even possibly in North America as well. So Tesla seems to be definitely losing a lot of market share. So that's very good for NIO. And again, if this data does come in good, then you'll see a very nice pop up. And lately, NIO's actually been showing signs that it wants to go up. It just needs a very good reason. Just unfortunately hasn't really gotten it yet. But aside from that though, anticipate shorts to be fairly active. Even on Friday, they did end up increasing 352,000 shares. 11.68% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 155.97 million shares overall are being shorted. So anticipate shorts to be fairly active this week as per usual, but generally, like I said, they are fairly active during kind of the morning part, and then they just die off. So it is just the algorithmic trading, and if that data, like I said, is good, then you'll have possibly the algos really buying up a lot of stocks such as Alibaba, NIO, and many others. So let me know your viewpoint on that. Aside from that though, 1.84 million in calls, 1.1 on inputs, and that was done on Friday. 47% of all the options being done were optimistic in nature. And you see a lot more calls during kind of power hour, and that's most likely because of this data. And I keep bringing this up because that is a very, very big deal. And I think just overall the forecasts are fairly high, so setting the bar a little bit too low, and so again for it to kind of exceed. And just generally as well, the put/call ratio seems to be improving. The overall premiums on Friday were kind of low though, so 2.9 million. Day prior 3.5 and then 3.6. But regardless though, it goes to show that at least people are paying attention to NIO through options. And with it closing where it did at 424, this is the open interest. So you have 9,000 in open interest at that $4 strike price. So that won't really result in that much of a bump up come Monday. But forward looking into this week, you have 8,000 at that 4, 13,000 at that 450, and then 15,000 at that 5. So once again, if come Friday NIO does get close to those strike prices, you might see shorts get a little bit more active to try to ensure that it closes below that. Obviously that's signs of manipulation, but that's the market for you. But aside from that, the following week, so ending February the 21st, that is a monthly chain, very, very active stuff. So if NIO does kind of build a good base and moves higher from that and closes above 5, then this is where you can get things very, very interesting, very fast. Aside from that, with it closing at 424, it closed right above this S1. So going forward into this upcoming week, $4.21, and then $4.13 is going to be the following support levels, and then $4 as well. So these two, so the S2 and the S3, very strong support. That S3 has been tested many times over the last 3 weeks, and it held up like a champ. So we know at least that is essentially the short-term bottom. Hopefully with good data, then you'll just have higher highs. Flip side, this pivot point of 433, that's going to be the next strong target slash resistance, and it did bounce off of that on Friday. So we do know as well going forward, that is also a very strong resistance point. And then if it gets going, just watch 446 to be the following one. And so with it at 424, let's kind of pop over here. It is right now slightly below the ALMA, so that is sitting at $4.26. I'll zoom in here so you guys can see it a little bit better. So it is right below that ALMA. $4.42 is that 50-day moving average. So historically speaking, you can kind of see it's really struggled to break out there. So it tried beginning of December, also end of December, beginning of January, end of January. So it seems to be a very common thing. So most likely you will see another run up, and hopefully this time around it'll be able to break above that, because historically whenever it does close above that 50-day moving average for 2 consecutive days, you see on average like a 40% run. So I think it's just a matter of time before NIO does get there. This kind of scenario right here that happened at the beginning of February definitely stood out. It was pounding at the door and really wanted to break out, just it didn't really have enough there. But hopefully, like I said, with this upcoming week with good inflation data, that'll be that good catalyst to really push it higher. Stochastic RSI is somewhat neutral, so not really overbought, not oversold. But yeah, I think just generally it is just a matter of time before NIO does finally move higher from here. And then as well as something to take note of, you have that 100 and 200-day moving averages roughly around that 479 and 495. But like I said, it all comes down to catalysts. If inflation data, for argument's sake, does come in negative, then regrettably anticipate more of a consolidation period for this week. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Do you think the inflation data is going to come in better? Do you think shorts are just going to try to hit NIO hard and suppress it? What's your general thoughts? There hasn't been any new ratings that has been coming out lately. So last one was done 4 days ago. JP Morgan Nick, so it was a downgrade, 470 price target. Nick has a 47% success rating. But then again, most analysts have a very bad rating. They should, Eunice, 60%. That's not all that bad. 45 recommendations overall, so that's not too bad. 39%, 23%. Most of those individuals should just be working at like a fast food place and not be analysts. So let me know your general thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Are you planning on buying? Are you planning on selling? What's your general thoughts? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolutely on point, so definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.